With Trump's decision for America to leave the Paris Climate Accords, it is natural to wonder what this means for the rest of the world moving forward. Climate change impacts society and environmental conditions globally, including Thailand. The collective nature of the accords make it powerful. When a primary participant like the United States is isolated from 195 countries, they impact the power of the United States government, non-renewable energy corporations, and environmental protection agencies. The Paris Agreement's aim is to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius. As the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump is an important man of great power and influence, with the U.S. as one of the greatest contributors to carbon emissions, the second largest. The withdrawal announced in June 2017 can greatly impact the ultimate goal for the agreement and have created conflict globally. Seen from the great published responses, it can be discerned that this decision has caused for backlash from citizens and disappointment from many leaders throughout. The withdrawal does prompt nations and world leaders to reiterate their commitment to the Global Pact, as there are those who are in favor of the decision. These are generally of the conservatives, those who also do not believe in the Paris Accords' importance, or should I say of climate change, and those who are beginning to agree with Trump for their own economic benefits. In the absence of the U.S., nations may be less inclined to transparently report their greenhouse gas emissions. It could decrease other countries' motivations to push harder for emission reductions. Countries that are fully committed will now have to worry more about the possibility that less committed countries may take this as an opportunity to slack off. This goes to show that Trump's decision to leave with intent to potentially benefit his own economy, his credibility as a partner in international cooperation now decreases extensively. Nicholas Burns, a senior official for the Bush administration, remarked that from a foreign policy perspective, it's a colossal mistake, an abdication of American leadership. If Trump were to re-enter the deal, this would make for an even larger mistake for Americans, as they've lost the trust of both leaders of other countries and working-class Americans.
He will really boost our coal industry and help us out tremendously and bring coal back to Southern Illinois.
Donald Trump's campaign appeals to working-class people in traditional fields. The coal industry has employed a large number of Americans. In fact, Donald Trump won 9 of 10 states with the highest coal production, and he withdrew from the accord to keep his promise to voters. It was clear from the beginning that groups involved in the coal industry opposed the regulations of the Clean Power Plan imposed by Obama, which aggravates the problem of climate change. Evidently, the lack of regulation can be extremely favorable for coal-heavy states. After leaving the accord, there was an uptick in production because corporations are not required to prioritize environmental consequences. Companies spend less on new, cleaner technology and produce more with no limitations. Obama restricted coal-generated electricity, which resulted in increased prices to incentivize power companies to invest in cleaner energy sources. Now, natural gas is so cheap that both coal and oil have lost market share to it. Trump appealed to the working class by claiming to get rid of all regulations and allow the United States economy to thrive from coal jobs and production. However, economists believe that these positive effects will only be short-term. Over time, Trump's decision to pull out of the Paris Accord and not fight to address climate change would eventually have disastrous economic effects globally. The Paris Accords works towards funding the implementation of clean coal. Due to the public's investment in technology to clean up energy production, the United States would need to invest in these technologies without external support from the Paris Accords. This would be a significant economic burden in the long term. The effectiveness of this deal comes from its collective nature. When all countries agree, there is no unfair disadvantages because most countries suffer the economic burden that comes from clean energy alternatives. Experts believe the use of natural gas and renewable energy sources like clean coal will prevail because of larger market forces. James Van Nostrand claims that the withdrawal will have zero impact. The sustainability of the U.S. fossil fuel industry is determined by market conditions. The demand for coal has diminished because renewable sources have become cheaper and work more effectively. While the United States pulling out may slow down the decline of coal power, it cannot stop it entirely. If the industry is not sustained, 50,500 of working-class Americans will be unemployed. Surprisingly, the reaction of large coal companies were divided. For example, Peabody Energy were supportive of the withdrawal, claiming the accord is flawed on a number of levels and substantially impacted the U.S. economy, while Cloud Peak Energy Inc. believed that withdrawing would unleash global backlash against coal interests outside the United States. The threat of possible retaliatory tariffs imposed by countries that believe they are being forced to bear an unshared burden of tackling a global problem. Trump's deregulatory agenda will actually crimp oil and coal domestically, and ditching the Paris Agreement would damage U.S. natural gas producers' ability to sell their volatiles abroad.
Interest groups accounting for NGOs, think tanks, and activists such as GREENPEACE USA, World Wildlife Fund, and the Nature Conservancy play a significant role in the Paris Accords. Such groups contribute to the promotion of the Paris Accords through various methods such as lobbying and campaigning. They advocate for the majority of the population and are able to capture attention on both small and large scales. They consult with civil societies and even government representatives regarding mutual environmental concerns and interests. They have significant power as they are able to influence world leaders and even create international regimes that are globally exercised. AVAAZ, the online campaigning organization promoting global activism, specifically climate change, has been steadily building a global supporter base, deploying numerous online petitions, email campaigns, street protests, and paid for advertisements on the newspapers. According to their petition on their website, if enough people signed their petition, they would be able to demand the US government into rejoining the Paris Accords without Trump being able to do anything. As of February, they have gained over 900,000 people to sign their petition, and this only accounts for those who sign online. The environmental NGO Greenpeace had also expressed their dislike in Trump's decision and speaks out to the withdrawal from the Paris Accords. The organization gave US President Trump a cold welcome by illuminating the message "No Trump, Yes Paris" on the president's recent visit to Warsaw, Poland. Though Greenpeace's action did not involve public demonstration of scale, an autonomous group of Polish women took the streets during Trump's visit to protest against his actions. This goes to show that Greenpeace has the power to diss world leaders and spark minor riots just by illuminating a small message. The effect this has on the Paris Accords is evident. The interest groups are able to initiate protests and strong opinions within the general public. Local environmental groups such as Greenpeace, World Wildlife Fund, and Nature Conservancy are urging U.S. citizens to contact their local representatives to create climate goals and make legislative efforts to meet targets, telling them to push forward legislatures that can allow for easier development of a clean energy economy.
The Paris Agreement marks the first ever universal global climate deal between nearly 200 countries to establish limits and track greenhouse gas emissions to keep them below acceptable levels. With Trump's decision to withdraw from the deal has sparked significant criticism, it does open eyes to the numerous effects on the different corporations and groups. With certain fields like the coal industry, this act of leaving stands to benefit them domestically, helping them to produce more without the need to invest in clean energy resources. This, however, can be deterred that the lack of regulation will only have short-term advantages, with the possibility of clean coal larger market forces coming to play and the global market retaliating from American corporations as a result. On the other side of the coin, environmental organizations or interest groups contribute to this comprehensive response by ensuring that the Paris Accords is necessary. Through their lobbying and campaigning, these groups indisputably have power and are able to make their movement be heard. And though there has been collectively a greater weight in negative potential consequence, the importance of the United States unwavers, and this leads to many more problems in the terms of the Accords itself. Due to the United States being the second largest contributor of the carbon emissions, the nation is seen as an integral part of the Paris Accords. And from the withdrawal, other countries may be less inclined to participate to their fullest extent, or even doubt the Paris Accords' ability to bring about change.